Just type any questions you have in the chat and we'll try to answer them in the last 20 minutes. Okay.
You can stop the share.
Mm-hmm.
So it says one of my students is curious about the political system. Why don't they have a president? So I think about Jordan a little bit more about the government there.
Why don't they have a president?
It's a tough one.
Yes.
Usually in politics in Jordan and most Middle Eastern countries, they don't allow citizens to have an opinion when it comes to making decisions for the country. And you can see that by the news. So a monarchy, the president, the king became king. It was a ruling family that started in 1921. And you can't really abolish the monarchy over there, so there's not going to be a president, but I don't really know how to answer that.
It's political questions are always complicated. So
yeah.
Any other questions?
Also, yeah, for how is your transition to America?
So I guess you grew up here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for me, this is my second year in America, I think. Yeah. So I grew up and finished high school in Turkey and then came here. I would say I've been to America before and wasn't really, the normal living standards aren't really that different. I think one transition I went through is right now I live in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, which is a very small town compared to where I grew up, which is a very large city that has 15 million people living in it. So I think one of my biggest transitions is from a big city to a small town in America. And it also takes time to adjust to the language or social habits of people. So I think some social aspects or some lifestyle habits were different, but other than that, the general system wasn't really hard to adjust for me. And I came here for college, so I was already familiar with the education system a little. Of course, there are little differences, and it takes time to adjust, but it wasn't a big transition, I would say, in a lot of ways. Yeah. Okay. You can also add some comments about, there's a question. I'm sorry.
Is food very different in your country?
Okay, so we can take turns.
Yeah.
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, that's fine. So food is different but also similar. We do have access to American food and restaurants. We do have a Pizza Hut, Bojangles.
You don't have Bojangles. Yeah, you don't.
No, we have our drink. Other than that, that's pretty good. But there are traditional like Arabic foods. It mainly consists of like rice and like something beside it. Like some people eat rice with like okra or rice with
Meat.
yeah, meat or chicken. Usually every meal is like that. It's usually a meat or chicken and rice and then something that goes with the rice.
Okay. For Turkey, I think, okay, so we also partly have some Middle Eastern food because we had a lot of cultural interaction with them over the history. So we have a lot of Middle Eastern foods, but like Turkey's geographical position allows it to have like different cuisines. For example, in like the Western Mediterranean side, we have a lot of like Mediterranean food, which is very similar to Greek food, like yogurt and other like any Greek food that you might know. They're actually also Turkish food, so because they're very near to each other. And then yeah, we have Middle Eastern food. I think the diet is very different in terms of we eat less fast food and more like home cooked meals, or soup is a big deal. But yeah, like Dana said, we also have McDonald's or any other big chains, which is a result of globalization. Like we go eat there as well. But I would say, like, yeah, coming here, one of the biggest changes for me was the food difference because I don't know, just the consumer lifestyle is different here. But one thing very different in Turkey is everyone drinks tea all the time. Like we have Turkish tea for breakfast and then again for after dinner or like at school during breaks. Like we instead of going and buying coffee, we usually tend to go for tea. Although we also drink a lot of coffee, and Turkish coffee is also very popular in our daily lives. We consume black tea a lot. Okay, so we can move on to the other question.
Yeah, so for Banu, why did you decide to go to college in the United States?
Yeah. I think I really enjoy learning from different educational models. Until high school, I was in a normal like Turkish school, and then in high school, I went to a German-Turkish double degree program in Istanbul. So it was a transition from the Turkish education system to German education system. And then in college, I wanted to try something else. Thus, I came to here. And a lot of my friends are in college in Turkey. Some of them are in Germany, and I'm here. So I enjoy being exposed to different education systems, and I think they all have their ups and downs. For college here, I really enjoy the liberal arts education I have because in Turkey, we have to choose our major right after college, right after high school, and we can't change it during college. So like if I decide to become an engineer or a doctor, I go straight into engineering or medical school, and then I can't change it throughout college and have to have that degree. So I think like college in America is more flexible, which is what I wanted to explore a little bit more. Yeah. Thank you. Any other questions you might have?
I think the teacher's typing smart. All of my students are English learners. Do you have any advice for them during their transition, culture, language? So they're all have come to the United States from another country.
Oh.
So any advice you have about coming to a new country or learning new languages?
I think for me, a lot of like to learn English in middle school and in high school, I read a lot of English books. Like I read all the Harry Potters, and I watched a lot of TV shows with English subtitles. That was something I enjoyed already, but during that process, I also learned English. I think like definitely books and films and TV shows help a lot. And I think podcast is another good way to get used to the language. And I guess like reading books or like watching movies, they also help you be acquainted with the culture as well. And also like, I guess, talking to people, just because that's the best way to get exposed to culture.
Yeah, I would definitely say that. Don't be afraid to step outside of your comfort zone. You definitely won't learn unless you kind of step away from your culture and experience other people's.
But having said that, also like embrace your own culture. Being in a different country, you might feel like, oh, everyone is, you know, like everyone speaks English, or like everyone has this culture, but mine is different. Like, don't ever think less of your culture. I think embrace your culture and love your culture. Also adjust to this culture. I think if you can combine those two cultures, you will be unique and beautiful in itself. So don't lose any of them.
One said they really enjoyed it. We'll see.
Well, thank you so much for having the time for us. We really enjoyed it as well.
You can ask if there's any other questions.
If there's any other questions, we'll be happy to answer. We still have around 10 minutes. Or any other comments you have about like what did you think about our languages? That's what I'm really curious about, because I mean Turkish especially is a very like it's not spoken by a lot of people. So like I think a lot of people would like be interested in like learning Arabic, but like Turkish you wouldn't really need to learn unless you wanted to go live there or like you know someone. So I think like you've been exposed to a very like like small language in that way, and I'm really curious to know what you guys think about it. And in Arabic, I think the pronunciations are really different, and I love like the sounds are so different. I love how you make it. So yeah, just feel free to comment or ask any questions.
Do they speak English in Turkey or learn English?
We don't speak English in Turkey, but we learn English in schools. So like the majority of people speak Turkish. It's the official language and like it's the daily language we speak. We are taught English throughout like elementary school all the way to college. I would say, I mean, we have a very grammar heavy English education, which ends up, I guess a lot of people have a English basis, but if they like they don't really get to practice, or they don't really have people to talk to, or they don't really write essays or anything. So it's a very mostly grammar heavy education if they haven't try to improve themselves besides the school's education. Having said that, there are some schools that really emphasize English education or any other language education, and have a more language heavy curriculum. Excuse me. And in those schools, I think the education for English is better.
Is it difficult to learn English? Or Dana, was it difficult for you to learn two languages growing up for either of you? Yeah.
Okay, for me, learning English was not difficult because I did grow up here. So I essentially learned English with Arabic. I did start off with Arabic, but being so young, like English was effortless. So it'd be just like how everyone here learned English.
For me, I think I just enjoy learning languages. So it was never, I mean, I always enjoyed like learning English or any other language that I tried to learn. So it was an enjoyable process, but it was also like in some parts it is still difficult. Like I'm still learning some things. There are times where I just don't remember a word and like I get stuck, or like, I don't know. I mean, it's a process, and since I didn't grow up here for the last 19 years of my life, it's really it's a learning process. Like I said, I mean, since I enjoy learning languages, it is always fun, and I love the challenge, but it's also sometimes difficult. So.
She says, my students are surprised you've only been here 2 years, Banu.
Thank you.
Yeah, any final questions? You guys have any? So I have 2 students from Jordan here. Another student asked me about hijab. Do you wear it, or when?
I do not, and I don't want to. You are technically supposed to wear it. My mom used to. She didn't after 9/11. But no, I don't wear it. I do wear it when I pray. I do pray 5 times a day, so at least that. But I don't wear it, no.
So I think for those of you who are not familiar with the hijab concept, it's, I guess, like, I mean, some Muslim women wear hijab, some Muslim women don't wear hijab. It's, I mean, some countries have it like as an obligation, but it's also like really important to emphasize that it's a personal choice in the end. If a woman chooses to wear it for their religion, they can. If they don't want to wear it, it's also fine for them. So I mean, it's like their own personal choice and responsibility in that. But yeah.
All right, so I think we can wrap up.
Well, thank you so much for listening to us. I really enjoyed our presentation, and I hope you guys learned something today. And I encourage you to explore different languages, travel if you can, be open to new cultures, and embrace your own.
So thank you, everyone. Come over yours. So we're going to stop our video temporarily, and then we'll be right back in 5 minutes for the next presentation. So we'll see you guys very soon. Thank you. Bye.
Görüşürüz.